Hello, my name is Daini. I'm a writer and I wrote the story Giraffe's Eggs. It's a story about how giraffes got their long and graceful necks. I hope you enjoy it. Once upon a time, in a faraway land where animals roamed free, there lived a certain giraffe. At that time, giraffes did not have their very long and graceful necks. One day, however, was to change the lives of giraffes forever. Everybody liked Giraffe because she was polite to everyone. But I'll tell you a secret. Giraffe only had one best friend, and that best friend was the oxpecker bird. Ah, they were the best of friends, and they loved playing together. Giraffe would chase Oxpecker, and Oxpecker would fly around her head. They had many hours of fun. One day, the Oxpecker wanted to show something very special to Giraffe. Her very first batch of eggs. They were beautiful and colorful, and Sir Oxpecker wanted to show her best friend straight away. Giraffe was fascinated about the lovely and colorful eggs. In a few days, these eggs would hatch into beautiful little oxpecker chicks. Now, Giraffe was very happy for her friend, but she felt a little bit sad. You see, she wanted to have some eggs of her own too, and she was wondering how she could make that happen. When she told the oxpecker about this, Oxpecker burst into laughter. She laughed and laughed and laughed some more and said, "Oh, my dear giraffe, giraffes can't lay eggs." Oxpecker didn't mean any harm. It was true. But the truth, sometimes, even said in the nicest, kindest way, can still hurt feelings. And Giraffe was really offended. She thought that Oxpecker was being mean and wanted to keep the secret of having eggs for herself. So she left her friend very upset and offended. Oxpecker was really surprised at this reaction, and they both went to their own houses disappointed and unhappy. All night Giraffe stayed awake, wondering what could she do to get her own eggs. And then she had an idea. Giraffe was younger. She'd heard a story about eggplants. Apparently, there were eggs that grew on plants. And that's exactly what Giraffe wanted to buy. So when she went to the market, she asked all the market stalls if they had any such eggs for sale. But none of them seemed to have the right kind of eggs. She asked one of the ladies if she knew where such eggs grew. The lady found it very strange. Eggs that grew from a plant? She had no idea. And so she told Giraffe that such thing didn't exist. And Giraffe was very sad. Her hope and dream of getting some eggs was being dashed away. Giraffe held back some tears and started making her way home. The humans had been her only hope. What could she do? The little girl who was with her mum didn't like to see Giraffe so sad. She had a very kind heart and wanted to help. So she thought and thought and thought, and then she remembered that in her grandmother's village there grows a kind of plant called an eggplant. She also remembered her grandmother called them garden eggs. So she figured these must be the eggs that Giraffe was after. Needless to say, after she ran after Giraffe to tell her, Giraffe was so happy and excited. Oh, she was just so happy. She went home very content. She was so excited. She started creating her own little nest. She gathered branches and placed them this way and placed them that way, and she was so happy that she forgot one very important aspect of having eggs. How would she look after them and keep them warm. Oh no, another problem to solve. Oh dear, oh dear. She thought about it and thought about it and thought, never mind, I'll figure a way when I get them. The next morning, she made her way to the little girl's grandmother's village. Everybody was out working in the field, so Giraffe had to wait patiently before getting some eggs. Then she got really bored. The people from the village had been in the field for hours and hours and hours, and she had been waiting and waiting and waiting. So she decided to just take a look around the village to see if she could find the eggs herself and wait patiently until somebody came to give them to her. She saw the eggplant. She did notice an unguarded eggplant with what looked like 5 beautiful eggs growing from it. Finally, she saw it. Now, Giraffe knew what the right thing to do was. She was supposed to wait for the owner to come back and give her some eggs. But she'd been waiting for so long, and she was so desperate to get the eggs. And she just wondered, what if the owner doesn't even want to give her the eggs? And then she thought about Oxpecker and all her eggs. And she thought, well, I'll just take a few. Giraffe knew what the right thing to do was. She decided not to do it. She wanted the eggs so much. She felt really ashamed about stealing the eggplants. But when she got home and put them into the little basket that she made, she felt so happy that she forgot about stealing the eggs in the first place. And then she remembered her other problem. How would she keep the eggs warm in order for them to hatch? That's when she had a brilliant idea. During the day, she would put the nest up in a tree close to the sun. And then at night, she would cover them with a blanket so they would always be warm. Oh, she felt so excited. How come no one had ever thought about that before? The next day, she went to the savannah to look for the tallest, highest tree she could find. And she found it right near the river. So she balanced the nest on her head and tried to push it up the branches, but it kept on falling. She tried again and tried again and tried again, and it fell and fell and fell again. She was starting to lose hope. I'll never be able to reach the top of the tree, and the eggs will never get warm. She started getting really upset. Then she had one last attempt. She stretched and stretched and stretched her neck until she reached the top of the tree. And there she laid the eggs safely on one of the tallest branches. Oh, she was happy again. Oh, she was so glad. However, when she tried to make her neck shrink back to size, she could not. Oh no! She tried and tried and tried, but her neck refused to get back to its normal length, no matter how hard she tried. Giraffe tried for hours and hours and hours, and getting more and more worried. Her neck was too long. She couldn't fight the tears anymore and just broke down in tears and cried and cried and cried so loudly that all the animals came to see what was the matter. All the animals noticed that Giraffe's neck had gotten much longer. The elephant suggested drinking water upside down might help, but it didn't work. Giraffe almost drowned. Very dangerous. The little meerkat suggested maybe they could jump on her head and push it back down, but that didn't work either. Giraffe had a very strong headache instead. Then the lion came, very suspiciously, said maybe he should eat parts of her neck. That was a very silly suggestion from, I suspect, a very hungry lion. Finally, Oxpecker flew to her and told her that actually Time and patience usually fixes everything, so maybe she should just wait and her neck would go back down. She felt very embarrassed about the fight she had earlier with Oxpecker, but Oxpecker told her not to worry. She'd forgiven her, and they could still play together. Now, Giraffe waited and waited and waited for her neck to shrink, but until this day, it hasn't happened yet. However, Oxpecker remains her very good friend. Until this day, you could still them playing around together in the savannah. Giraffe's eggs never hatched, of course, because they were eggplants, not eggs. And Oxpecker, well, she still lays eggs every year. But don't worry, whenever Giraffe starts to feel a little bit jealous about her friend's eggs, she hears a voice in her head that says, be grateful for whatever you get. Otherwise, you'll get an even longer neck. The end. I hope you enjoyed my story. I've been Daini reading Giraffe's Eggs. Good night.